I have to start this up. So we are in Judges chapter 5. We're on verse, like I said, 13. So it says, "Az Yerad Sarid, then ruled the remnant la'adirim am among the mighty of the nations. Hashem Yerad li bagiborim, and Hashem dominated the strong for me." So Rashi says, actually, let me just run right to the Malbim. The Malbim is what I wanted to get here. So it says, "Az." At that it says, then Meve'eret ki yesh hevdil gadol ben teshua kodemet. There was a big distinction between the first salvation, shahaita al yedei Ehud, which was done by Ehud. If you remember, Ehud was the lefty. Ehud ben Gera, he killed the king sitting on the toilet.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So, shahaita b'derech tavai, this was in a natural manner that the salvation came out. Lebena teshua hazot, as compared to this salvation, which was shahaita al yedei Hashem, which was via God. Al ze amar, and because of this is az bimei Ehud. So then, in the days of Ehud, Yerad Sarid adirim am, that the remnant ruled among the mighty of the nations. So Sarid who Ehud, the remnant was Ehud. Shenimlat Moab, that was saved from Moab. Acha shaharag et Eglon, after he had killed Eglon. V'lamed la'adim, and the lamed, the 2 or 4 adirim, for the strong, for the mighty. Hu lamed bishvil, that means 4. It's a lamed which means 4. Okay, so Ehud hisrid hasarid rad ed am Moab. So Ehud, the remnant, ruled over the nation of Moab. Be'ezer adirim, with the help of the strong ones, the mighty ones. Shahalchu be'ezratu, who went to help him. K'moshe k'tuv v'yika b'shofar, unless it says he blew on the shofar. Bahar Ephraim at Mount Ephraim, v'yardu imo b'nei Israel min ahar, and all of the nation of Israel came down with him from the mountain. V'im kain, so hayu ito adirim, they were the valiant, the strong ones that were with him. V'al yedei ezratam rada'am, and through their help, with their help, he was ruling over the nation, which means am chalash v'palit Moab, the nation of the weak nation and the remnants of Moab. Loken enochi, but Devorah is saying, not I, Hashem harad yalid. Hashem is the one who made me rule over. V'lo yadi v'yad adirim. It was neither my hand or the hand of the mighty that with me. Redu oyev, that ruled over, or ruled over my enemy. Rak Hashem yiradli. It's only Hashem who caused me to rule over them. V'lo am chalush, and not over a weak nation. Rak begiborim. Rather, I was ruling over the strong nation. Shehem machan Sisra, which was the encampment of Sisra. Umilat Yarad Shar. Okay, fine. That's what he wants. So you understand what she's saying? She's saying that when it comes to Ehud, it was a natural victory. So that's when the remnant came down and ruled over the strong ones of the nation. But then it says Hashem caused me to rule over the strong ones. So what's going on? So the first part is going about Ehud, the second part is going about her, and she's not taking the credit herself. Barak doesn't get to take the credit himself. It's all going to God. Now I'm not going to argue, as apparently she is, that Ehud felt any differently, or the Bnei Israel felt any differently about their victory. I think in all of them, when you get to that level of being a shofet, you all understand that Hashem is really on your side, or you really wouldn't win. But she seems to be making a very big distinction between those two. One is where it's clear that it's from God, and one is clear that it's from, it's not clear from God. And most of our victories are not clearly from God. Most of them you could account to the numbers or the guerrilla warfare that we engage in. But Barak also had to go to war. So it's very hard to understand why she was holding that this was a different type of war. But that's really the question that goes on there for the Malbim. Okay. So then Yud Daled. Mini Ephraim Sharshim Va'amalek. So it says, excuse me, out of Ephraim, whose root was against Amalek. Binyamin va'amamecha. After you will be Binyamin with your he says your baiters. Mini machir yadu mechokakim. From out of machir come down the officers. Mechokakim are also people who are engravers. The chakak, to engrave something. Okay, so he's saying officers. We'll see why. Mezavulin, and out of Zavulin moshchem b'shevet sofer. They're the ones who drag, they say handle, but drag the pen of the scribe. Okay, so Rashi explains. First we'll go Rashi, let's see what's going on here. Mini Ephraim, she says, what does that mean? Min Ephraim. From Ephraim. Mini is Rashi's suggesting that we should knock out the Yud, the E sound. Just keep it Min. Means Min Ephraim Yatza et Shorish Yoshua. So from Ephraim came out the root of Yeshua ben Nun. In other words, Yeshua ben Nun comes from Ephraim.
Does mean anything?
Say again?
Mean, or is it by as a word?
It doesn't seem to, because let me just see. No, the Mitzudas David just says that min, the Yud is added. It doesn't seem to. Nobody seems to be giving it a separate meaning.
Huh. It's almost like the possessive first person.
Oh, so I shouldn't say no. Sorry, possessive first. Yeah, but Rashi Malbim will say on this. He says he's going to explain what was written when it says then the remnant went down to ruled over the mighty ones. So it says mi hayu adirim, who were the strong ones. Haim mini Ephraim. Yeah, so everybody's saying the same thing. Mini seems to be the from. This one.
The what?
From.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah. Why the Yud is here is always a good question. The gestation.
As it's written, would not be a word that would be commonly used at all.
Absolutely not. No.
Huh.
No.
Interesting.
It probably would be more of a construct. If anything, it'd be more of a construct. The Malbim, the Targum, just for argument's sake, says it's saying mi debate. He translates mini as mi debate, from the house of.
Huh. Interesting. Wow.
Well, again, everybody's saying from. Yeah. So the Targum, it must be. I'm not sure who this is. Is it Targum Onkelos or the Targum Yonatan? I'm not sure, but it's he's saying me debate.
Assuming it's not a scribal error, then the writer must have had a reason for using it, huh? But they're not saying that, though.
Nobody's telling you that there's a different meaning. Correct.
Interesting.
So Rash, like I said, Mesud David, Mesud Sion, who is a dictionary here, he just says it's the Yud is added to it. That's all. Doesn't say you can learn anything from it. Everybody's saying the same thing. From the field. From the family of. So, like I said, so Rashi says, Min Ephraim Yatzish et Shorish Yoshua ben Nun. That's where Yoshua ben Nun came from. L'erdopa Amalek Lechloshoto, and Yoshua ben Nun would lead the armed forces in Moshe's time to go against Amalek and to weaken them. The Ficharev, according to the with the sword. So we're attaching this verse to the ones above to explain Hashem Yerad Li B'Kiborim, that Hashem rules over helps me to rule over the strong for me, and Right, and that was Yoshua, Hakim, they raid Palmak, and that was Yoshua who would overpower Amalek. It's also interesting that the Hebrew used for Amalek is what it means to killing Amalek. It says lachlosha, to weaken him. What does it mean to weaken him? So the Rash is explained in Bamidbar, in the book of Numbers, where they actually see the fight, that it means that he killed all the strong leaders and thus weakened the people. Cut off the head of the snake, and the snake dies. So that's basically what's going on there. And then it says that's one explanation. Then acharecha, after him. So and Binyamin is after him. Yakum Sheva Binyamin Shaul ben Kish. So from the tribe of Binyamin, you're going to have the king Shaul, who was the son of Kish. Sheyirgamenu v'yamos toki chalem omo. He's going to stone them and trample them. Fine. And some interpreted that when it says Amamecha, your abaters, your nation, is the army of 200,000 foot soldiers that Shaul came upon them with. Mini Machir Yardu Chochem, again from the tribe of from the people of Machir. So Mini, right. So Mini, I wonder if it's consistent with that.
It doesn't seem like it would be a scribal error because it's 2 times in a row.
No, it's not a scribal error. Clearly not.
Oh.
So it's so it's just again, you'd have to. What you'd really have to do is if you had a what's it called, concordance, concordancia. If you had a concordance, so then you would see how many times Mini is used. If it's only these 2 times, you'd have or a few times like this, only in this book, you'd also have an interesting question as to why this author has chosen the word Mini instead of just mean, or Mi Ephraim. So that would be the question. Okay, so it says Sarim Gadol and Shekavshu Emori. So these are the great officers who conquered the Amorites of Shekavshu Shishim Ir. They conquered 60 cities, and so on and so forth. So that's one way of looking at it. Mechokakim also is where he says. Okay, so it's the Malbim. I must be remembering that. So let's see. So Malbim says like this. So Mini Ephraim, the from Ephraim Shalchu Im Ehud, that went with Ehud. Shar Shamba Amalek. Their roots was against Israel. Was against Amalek. Hem Sharshu et Amalek. They are the roots of Amalek. Shaya Im Moab, that were with Moab. Okay, so Acharecha, after you, Ata Ehud Acharecha. Halach Binyamin b'Amimin. After you, Ehud, Binyamin will go with the Veda Shehu Haya Imcha Himach, that he's with you, V'Shivtecha, and your tribe, Ki Ehud Haya Mishev Binyamin, because Ehud was from the tribe of Binyamin. Excuse me, Ve'emayu Adir Mikavarim, and they were strong and mighty. Lo came b'Milchama Hazot, but not so in this war. Lo Halchu B'Gavarim, Rak B'nei. But in this war, the strong ones didn't go, only the Mechokakim. Elu sheyardu imi b'nei Machir. Those are the ones who came down from b'nei Machir. And who are these Mechokakim? And we translate Mechokakim as fighters, as he says. Mechokakim is. They were. Sarim Gedolim, big, great officers. So he says, the Malbim say, no, they're not officers. They're Chachamim Bedat Uvedin. V'lo Anshe Chayal Milcha. He's having an argument here. He's saying, no, they are the rabbis. They're the Chacham, the wise men in law and in religion and law. And they're not men of the armed forces. Elu Sha'alchu Imi Zavulun. And they are the ones who went from the nation from Zavulun. They were the ones who pulled the pen of the Sofer. And they weren't the ones who were having the shield and the sword. So if you really want to scare the enemies, you have a bunch of rabbis coming with the Gemaras and a pen, and that's it. And you better watch out. When they come with their pens, they're going to kill you. No, if you think about that, what's she praising him for? What's going on here? She's saying that war is not won by arms or by numbers. Is won if Hashem wants you to win, and is going to be the ones who are drawing the pens. And because who does God make miracles for? The Chachamim, the righteous. That's who we get all the miracles from. You don't get miracles from everybody else. The regular guy on the street is not who's not good, who's not tzaddik. You don't do miracles for him, which is why you don't see so many open miracles today. There's the very miracle that can go like this. That's the miracle. Okay, simple as that. No, it's true. It's true. Anything we open, we live, we breathe. These are all miracles. But there are miracles that we live in every single day. The fact that that light goes on and stays on is a miracle. We call it science. We call it electricity. The fact that it works is a miracle. The fact that this computer doesn't shut off is a miracle too. That's an open miracle, of course. But if you think about all of these things that we do, we can remember certain things, we forget certain things. Women forget childbirth. That's a miracle.
That they go through it again.
They go through it again and again and again and again and again until they can no longer. But that's just an open miracle, because we the guys remember, what? You want to, what? You want to do this again? Okay. But it's, and because remember the pain, remember everything else, but they forget. God gives them a sort of amnesia with that. And they hold the baby and suddenly they say, oh, I want another one. Okay, I'll do what I have to do, you know. But it's, the thing about that's an open miracle. That's an open miracle. We get into a plane and it takes off a gigantic thing. You will explain to me why that happens, and I will look at you and say, no, of course. And I think you're nuts. It's so heavy. Why can't I flap my wings and fly? You know, it just doesn't work that way. But again, we can explain why it works, but still it's a miracle. It's a miracle somebody thought about it, and so on and so forth. So we have a lot of these miracles that are daily occurring by the second, but we don't see it anymore because we don't consider that miracles because we've explained it away. Doesn't make it any less miraculous. And that's what we have. But then you have the other miracles, the ones that are so in your face that you just can't deny that there's a greater power out there. And again, when you would have these people who are not trained to be in the armed forces, and they get called and they go on this holy war, if you will, and then they win against a trained army, that's a miracle. And certainly if they don't suffer any losses. That's the ultimate miracle, when we don't suffer any losses. And that's what she's referring to. Okay. So on, again, simple level is what Rashi was saying. That he's talking about the different armies that went out. The Malbim is talking on a much higher level, but he's also looking at the word, and this is where Rashi seems to leave seems to leave the simple explanation because of the word mechokakim. What does mechokakim really mean? And that is, and like I said, that means engraver, somebody who, and there's translated as, he translates that as great officers. Why he decides to do that, I don't know, but it's clearly not how you would say that. You would say it as right. Chok is one who sets statutes up, though. A chok is a statute. Chakak is to engrave. So. Well, everybody's right.
The one who sets up statutes.
Right. So that's why the Malbim would say it fits more with the language. So yeah, you have a whole argument here as to what that word is.
The officers set up the statutes, huh?
You could argue that also. So again, that's how you're getting to this whole argument. So you're defending the shot that would say, the understanding that would say is officers. But at the same time, you could also say, because the next lines that come up from Zavulun, you have the ones who moshchim, who shevet osofer, who handle the pen of the scribe. Now, what was Zavulun also? Let's understand who Zavulun was. You don't study.
What am I doing right now?
You don't study, man. You just come. You have to study. Okay.
I didn't have the homework. What do you think?
The homework has been yours forever. You have to open up the Bible, man. Okay. What does Zebulun do? Remember in the tribes, what's his gift? His gift was by the sea. He was a merchant. He's supporting Yisachar, right? It's that ancient deal that they have. Zevulun goes to work, supports Yisachar while they're learning Torah. So Zevulun, now listen to this. They're just simple logic again. Zevulun is the merchant. As a result, they have to write things down. So that's drawing the pen of the scribe. They have to write contracts. They have to all these things, okay? And but again, they're businessmen. They're not armed officials. So that's another interesting thing that's going on here. Why would they be, if they're fighting, what does it have to do with drawing, taking your pen of the scribe? So the Barvanel maintains this refers to the merchants who, like I just said, who write their business accounts. For this reason, it says the ones who handle the pen of the scribe, rather than simply saying the scribes. Okay, fine. So that's what the Barvanel is agreeing with me. Baruch Hashem, Rosh Kavanti. Okay. Okay. So you just to give you a feel for what's going on here. Next verse. V'sarai v'Yisachar im Devorah. So now the princes of Yisachar were with Devorah. V'Yisachar came Barak, and all as was Yisachar with Barak. Be'emek in the valley, Shulich. They sent Baraklav with their feet. They rushed forth. They rushed forth with their feet. It's a pual. Beflagot Reuven, but with the divisions of Reuven, Chikke Lev, there were great resolves of heart. So Rashi explains, Sarim, Shabi Yisachar Haim Sanhedria. Who were the officers in Yisachar? Again, I just said, what was Yisachar's job in this whole deal?
Study Torah.
To be in the learners. Okay, so if I'm studying Torah, who are my officers? The Rosh Yeshiva? The head of the school? Well, we're all learning. We don't know anything about fighting. So it says, Haim Sanhedriot. They were the Sanhedrin. There's court systems. Oskim B'Torah, Yodei Bina La'itim. They were the ones who delved into Torah and would make the calendars. They understood how the calendars worked. Haim Tamid Im Devorah. They were always with Devorah, Lamed Yisrael, Choka Mishpat. Why were they with her? Rashi says to teach Israel the law and the statutes. The statutes and the law, sorry. I reversed the Hebrew. That's what they're with her for. Why? Think about how brilliant that statement is. I want you to tell me what's brilliant about that statement. No? Wake up. What's brilliant about that statement? You don't know. Think about it. You don't hear the statement yet? What's brilliant about that?
The statement or the concept?
The concept and the statement. Why did Rashi say that? Why do we say, what are the two distinctions of the leaders that we always talk about? The good leader versus a bad leader in the judges. The good leader brought the people back to Torah, and the bad one, if you will, just got the victory. So what does Devorah do? She lines herself up with the Talmidei Chacham, who is always with her? The leaders of Torah scholarship. While she's going through the ranks, she's making them teach Torah, not threaten them about going to hell. Previous discussion for those who weren't there. We talked the crash course in hell. Okay, but that's calling now. Just tell me, okay. And so they were going through the Jewish people, teaching them what they should be doing, so that the victory would not just be momentary. The victory was supposed to last. So if I can get you going, and think about the power they're given, because now they're going with Devorah, who got Barak, who's known as a leader, and now the Sanhedrin is with her. So she has a lot. She has a good power base. They have a good power base. You know, Congress is working together for once. If Congress works together, we can get a lot accomplished. Okay, that's really what's happening here. You understand?
It's almost like going on a speaking tour or going out and teaching people, or they would encourage the people to come to the...
Both. Both. It was outreach and inreach. But again, if the government is paying for this and seeing it as a necessary thing, not evil, but a necessary thing, something that's going to keep the system going, so then you're not going to be threatened to be shut down every 2 days because we didn't want to give you our donations. We're not seeing it as a charity case. Now we're seeing it as the government. When the government does that sort of thing, and again, when we make it an important system, so then people will learn. Think about the public school system in America. Originally, there was nothing. You had to pay. It was you go to work at wherever on the farm, and you learn the 3 R's: reading, writing, and arithmetic. You know, and arithmetic, because that has an R in it. We all know that.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Reading, writing. There's only one that has an R. Okay. They obviously didn't have spelling as part of that. Oh yeah, God, you know, when you think about how stupid we were with those statements, okay. But it's nonetheless, when the government got behind it, and this is the same thing for the Jewish government in the Gemara, when I forget his first name, but when we initiated our school system and said we have to do these sort of things again to get the kids and ultimately to the adults and so on and so forth, but we gave it some importance. So here also we gave it importance, and the problem that our system faces is that people don't understand the importance that we're trying to do. They want to get into other stupidities instead of just teaching. They want to get into morals because the parents aren't doing their job. It's all mishmash, but that's the problem of our system. But when I can start pouring money into that system to make sure that it works properly, not just to throw money at it, but to make sure it works properly and get the right people in place, so then I turn this thing into something that actually works. So what Devorah did was she brought along these Sanhedrins, these people who were tremendously knowledgeable of the Torah, knew what to do, and to teach it. And they would only become part one of the core, because you'd also have the Levium, you also have the Kohanim, who were also could travel if they had to. They also didn't have farms to plant, and then they could go around. I mean, you could really fill your school systems up. So that I'm using their language in our system, but my point is if we could really take America for a second. If we could really educate our populace as to what our Constitution was about and what the Founding Fathers had, what the Federalist Papers were, and really educate them, so that we look at elections and say, oh, this is this, and blah, 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 and we can start figuring out what we want. Instead of a personality contest, it actually turns into one of ideas. So then it would be a different country. We'd all have this pride. We wouldn't want to give it up. We would want the system to work, and we would tell our professional politicians, you're fired because you're not doing your job. And that would be then, and we'd take power back. But that's all if it's taught correctly, so we should have that sort of desire. But it's not taught that way, and so we don't have that. But that's what she's doing. They're going around and making everybody do tshuva again, so it won't just be a momentary victory, but it should last. It doesn't. But because that would be interesting. Why didn't it last for her? That's an interesting question. And then it says Sarah Yisachar, and also he says the Yudzu Tefela. This is extra as it were. Ve'ena Mishamesh. Okay, fine. Yisachar came Barak. Also Yisachar was with Barak. Shara Am Shal Yisachar, and the rest of the nation of the Barak of Yisachar besides Sanhedrin, they were with Barak and did all that he commanded. And they sent forth their legs. Shalcham the Bechol Shlichuto. In other words, they did whatever he wanted them to do, and they gathered the nation, all the needs of the war, And then you also have the divisions of Reuven. Aval bichiluke libo shel Reuven, rabu choke lev nikli lavo arimot. But as far as the hearts, they didn't convince Reuven totally, and so that was they were coming with a little armimut yeshiv lo be'misratem bechamal l'shmo minosech v'ya'imal. They were entrusting totally, so they wanted to really remain in the background, and whoever would win the war, they would go with them. That's what they figured. Okay, let's go with the winners.
The bandwagon fans.
Right there, that's how Rashi's understanding that. Okay, and we'll have to stop there.